lovelies, welcome back to the channel. So I'm here today with a video that's quite highly requested, and that is a video about my head tattoo experience. So I was quite surprised whenever I got so many people asking for a video on this, just because I haven't had that many requests for my other tattoos, but then I realized a head tattoo is a little more unusual than say like an arm tattoo or a leg tattoo or something, like, you know, like less people, I guess, have something in that general area, so we can definitely talk about it. I will say right off the bat though, my experience wasn't super different than any other tattoo I've had so far. So I guess just starting from the beginning, I had originally started seriously thinking about getting my head tattooed, I think around 2019. Back then I was like a super overthinker with tattoos, and I would literally like plan things out for like a year or two before committing to getting it. So I'd been thinking about it around then and talking to my at the time partner about it around that point, but at that time what I actually originally wanted was like bats going along the side of my head, and I still think that idea is really cute. I just, as time has gone on, I've ended up wanting something a bit different, something I haven't seen as much, and I've like never seen anyone with like thorns. I'm certain it exists, like someone else must have it, like, you know, nothing's original, but it's not something I've seen a lot. Where I've seen bats a lot and I really do love them, but I was like, I want something a bit different. So that was my original plan. I do still love that look, but it just wasn't for me. So I guess things worked out because, as I say, around 2019 was when I was first really starting to think about that. And then in 2020, I reached out to the tattoo artist that I was seeing most often back then, and I've actually got like screenshots of where I tried to like Photoshop bats onto my head, and I was like trying to say to him like, hey, could we do this, but could you like lay them out better, you know, like something like this basically. And I was thinking about it recently and I was like, why didn't I get that done? Like I was talking to the tattoo artist about why did I end up not getting that done. So I went back and looked at our conversation. February 2020 is when I was talking to him about that. What happened a month later? Lockdown, COVID, pandemic. So that is what originally stopped me getting my head tattoo, I guess. And it works out because then I would have got bats and they would have been very cute, but I'm much happier with what I ended up getting, so I guess it was for the best. So yeah, that plan was put on the shelf for ages. I don't know exactly when I started thinking of thorns, or even what made me think that that would work, but it's just something I had in my head. I know like months and months back, I feel like when I was in getting like another tattoo, I was talking to someone about it then, and I feel like I mentioned I mentioned wanting it done, and the person I was talking to like won't do heads. They said they wouldn't do it for me, and I'd like mentioned thorns. I think a couple of people back then were kind of like, I don't know, I think they thought like it wouldn't look great or like wouldn't really work whenever the hair started growing back in, like it wouldn't look right. So I was kind of like, okay. I kind of didn't think about it for a little while. And then a couple of months ago, I was out shopping with my friend Carrie, and we're walking around and I was complaining, I was saying I really wanted my head tattoo because it like sort of come around again. I asked her if she would do it, and she also doesn't like doing heads. No one wants to tattoo heads. She's not a fan of doing that location, so she was like, no. And then she was like, well, what would you even get? And I was like, you know, for my last experience I was kind of like, so I was like, I don't know, I was thinking like thorns. I was like, you know, waiting for the idea to be shot down. She was like, that would be so cool, and I was like, I thought so too. So then we had this whole conversation about it, and that like really hyped me up, and I was like, right, do you know what? I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. So I'd been thinking about it for like a week or so, and then I was like, right, okay. So I asked on Instagram for recommendations for artists in the UK who do good thorns, and it all just worked out so well. So I'd asked on there, and then while I was looking at someone that I already followed, who's Chloe White Tattoo, I was actually in the middle of like looking at her page. I was thinking like, oh, she'd probably be quite good. I actually got a message from her at that moment, like, I fucking love doing thorns. I was like, okay, but I want it on my head. Like, without like a lot of people don't want to do heads, would that be a problem? She's like, I fucking love doing heads. I'm like, let's go. So we were talking about it, and I think at that point like her next space wasn't until like November or something, and it was like, right, okay, great, we'll do it then. But then like as we were talking, I was heading to London that weekend, and I was like talking away, and I said something about like going to Slam Light for the first time that weekend, and she was like, oh wait, you're gonna be in London this weekend? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, I have a cancellation on Saturday. And I was like, well, it'd be rude not to. So that's how I ended up sliding on in and getting this done sooner than I expected. Much later than originally intended, but much sooner than this plan was expected. So that all worked out really well. So on to the fun stuff. That's all like the history of me wanting this tattoo. On to the fun stuff, which is actually getting the tattoo. When was that? I'm recording this on the 20th of September, and I got that done. I'm pretty sure I posted it the same day I got it. 13th of August, I think. so a little over a month ago. So yeah, I popped over to Vagabond Tattoo Studio in London. That is one of the studios Chloe works in. I'm pretty sure she works in a few. Arrived very sweaty because London was a million degrees. And yeah, Chloe's so lovely. Like, she's an amazing tattoo artist and also just a really lovely person. And so I sat down and there was no like stencils or anything like the way I've had for like all my other tattoos. She basically just whipped out some pens and it was drawn freehand on my head. And I was really worried about that. Like, I'm also afraid of like not liking someone else's artistic vision and having to tell them I don't like it because it just feels rude, and I'm always so panicked that it's not going to be what I wanted. So I gave her like direction, like, you know, I said that I wanted them to be like really sharp and thin and spiky and pointy and mean. And I had like other notes I was going to give that I didn't even need to. Like, one of the things I was specifically going to say was that I really wanted thorns like poking out here. I didn't even get around to saying that. Like, she started drawing and she drew them on like exactly where I was already imagining, and I was like, right, great, we don't like no longer need to say that. We had like, I don't think we made very many changes. I think the first little drawing, it was slightly too crowded, so we took some of that away, and yeah, like pretty much straight away it was the way I liked it. And so we got to doing it. I don't know, I was under the impression it wouldn't really hurt that much. I don't know why. I think the only thing that I had to go on, which really wasn't a good way of judging it, was the little like tattoo I have on the back of my neck. Whenever that like started going up into my hairline, that felt almost quite nice. Like, it kind of felt like, you look at those wire head scratchy massagers. That almost felt like one of those, but like a little bit too scratchy, but like still sort of nice. So that was all I was basing it on, but those were such like little teeny tiny fine lines that was not a good basis of comparison. So yeah, we got started on this and it definitely hurt a lot more than I was expecting. Especially the lines, like sort of when it was being shaded it wasn't as bad, but like the lines hurt. And anything like close to the face around here, I definitely think was like the most painful part. And it only happened on one side weirdly, but some of these areas, like, it's hard to see because there's like stuff on my screen. I'm trying to like judge where. But these sort of areas, it actually made this eye water. Sort of similar, like, you know, whenever you get your nose pierced and your eye waters, it was kind of like that. So like that actually like made my eye water a bit, and I was like, ooh. But it was bearable. Like, it definitely hurt. It would be up there with like some of the more painful ones I've had. Saying that, like, I haven't had like loads of really awful ones. Yeah, so it was definitely like quite sore, but it was bearable. We did both sides, just like one after the other. It wasn't a problem. And yeah, I love them so much. Still, like, every time I see them now, I'm like, and it's like kept me motivated to like keep getting my head shaved more often, because before I used to like let it grow out until it was like really like shaggy and fuzzy and looked awful. But now, like, every time my tattoo starts to disappear a little bit, I'm like, no. Yeah, I think they're really cool. I did ask for specific questions about the head tattoo experience on Instagram, so I'm gonna go through those because I've talked a bit, but I don't want to like miss any sort of like important information. So one question was, are they fully covered when my hair is down? And the answer is yes, mostly. I feel like you would maybe see just the tiniest little peak, little corner like here coming out. But if my hair is like down, you can't really see them. I do have a tendency to put my hair behind my ear, in which case you can see them poke out a little bit, but it's a little more subtle. But if my hair is like properly down, you wouldn't really know they're there. A lot of people ask like where I got the idea for the design. I honestly have no idea what made me think of thorns. I could not tell you what made thorns pop into the side of my head. It was just one day I was like, ooh, and it stuck. So there's one. So does it feel like a normal tattoo? I don't know why. I imagine it feels different because it's on your skull. And I've had a lot of people in real life ask me if it felt weird, like rattling off my skull or anything. I kind of wondered about that too. I thought it would feel more like vibrating or rattly, and to be honest, it didn't really. It really didn't feel much different than any other tattoo. Like, I didn't notice anything special about it, you know? Like, it was just, yep, this is a tattoo, yep, it hurts. There wasn't any sort of extra weird sensations or anything. I got that kind of thing where, like, if you have tattoos, you might know yourself. Like, sometimes just your nerves aren't, I don't know what it is, but like you'll feel yourself being tattooed somewhere you're not. Like, you know, you might be getting tattooed here and you feel it in your elbow or something. So whenever like these bits were being done, I could feel it like up here, like in my hair, which obviously wasn't happening, but it was really weird because it felt like way up here was being tattooed. And then one of the bits behind the ear actually felt like right along the top of my ear was being tattooed, like actually on my ear, which was really weird, which again, obviously it wasn't. but that's what it felt like, so that was an interesting one. But yeah, other than that, there was no like special sensation of it being on my head or on my skull. It was just the same as any other tattoo, really. I could not feel it in my teeth, no. Can you keep it shaved while it's healing, or do you just kind of have to leave it alone? I left it alone for, I think, like 3 weeks or something, and I checked in with Chloe before I shaved it. Like, I made sure with her, I was like, hey, when am I allowed to shave this again? But you know, it was pretty much healed within 3 weeks anyway. That's something we're going to talk about. Obviously, the healing process, that would be important, so we'll get to that. Yeah, it was pretty much healed within 3 weeks, so I just left it alone during that and then shaved again, didn't have any problems. So questions about the healing process, about having long hair over them, washing my hair. So I kept my hair tied up, at least certainly for like the first few days of having them done, and I tried to go for as long as I possibly could without washing my hair, just because I didn't want to get any like shampoos or anything in there. So I think I managed to leave it about a week before I washed my hair again. And then I just tried to like not use any like harsh products. I think I used like Lush shampoo and conditioner because that was what I had on hand. I don't really use things like hairspray or anything anyway, so that wasn't a worry. So yeah, I just left my hair alone as much as possible for like the first week, which was like, oh, a struggle. Does having a head tattoo alter your hair care routine? Now that it's healed, no. I don't have a huge hair care routine anyway, honestly. I don't really do a lot to my hair, but it hasn't really changed anything other than, like I said, now I keep it shaved more often just because I like to look at it. Did the artist shave for me? There's a barber right next to Vagabond Tattoo, so we actually went in there and they like shaved it down like really, like completely bald with this like weird little machine. I don't know what it was, but yeah, they made it like really bald. And then we went back in and tattooed. I completely forgot about that until you asked. A lot of people asking about the noise. I don't really remember thinking much of the noise, so it obviously wasn't bad. Like, it's not something that sticks out in my memory of the experience, so it wasn't really something that left an impression. Were there numbing creams available? I'm pretty sure any place I would ask first, but I think most places the rule is if you want numbing cream you can put it on yourself, which I usually can't really be bothered with. I've only used it like once, and generally I just can't be asked for the hassle, and I feel like especially on my head, like it would have been super annoying, so yeah, I typically don't bother. I was meant to be getting one in my elbow ditch this week. Unfortunately it got cancelled. I don't know if or when that's going to be rescheduled, but with that I was considering using numbing cream just because like the thought of like that area, I was like, do you know what? Maybe it's time to give numbing cream another go for the first time in 10 years, but in general I can never really be bothered with it. How was the feeling of the hair growing back? Was it itchy? I mean, tattoos all hit like an itchy phase, and I tend to deal with quite an itchy scalp anyway. Like I tend to get like a lot of dandruff and stuff, which thankfully doesn't seem to have affected this, but like I already deal with an itchy scalp. Tattoos already get itchy during a healing phase, so it was itchy. I couldn't tell you if it was any more itchy than any other sort of tattoo experience, but the hair growing out didn't really seem to cause any hassle. Nothing like special seemed to happen. It wasn't really a problem. How do you sleep with fresh tattoos? So the same day that I got my head tattoo was the night that I went out to Slimelight with Rolly and Luxaria. So I got back from that night out at like 4 or 5 a.m. very drunk, and from what I can gather I just got 2 pieces of like kitchen roll before I went to bed, kind of stuck them to my head and lay down, and I woke up with them both stuck to my head the next morning. I don't know if that's the best way of dealing it, but at 4 o'clock in the morning when you're very drunk you gotta come up with quick ideas, and that was the best I could do because I didn't want to like leave blood and thorn prints on Rolly's pillows, so I was just like kitchen rolled. So, because that's what I lay on, like, you know, whenever I got the first side of my head done and then like flipped over to the next, there was like a piece of kitchen roll under me, so I was like, it's probably safe that, so yeah, I put some kitchen roll, just like stuck it to my head before I went to sleep. I am going to take this opportunity to remind everyone that I am not a tattoo artist. I am in no way qualified to be giving tattoo advice. That is not my advice. For if you get a head tattoo, I am not telling you to stick stuff to your head and go to sleep, because there is every chance that's a terrible recommendation. What you should do if you're getting your head tattooed and you're worried about how to sleep is you should ask your tattoo artist, like a sensible person. Do not listen to the girl on the internet who happens to have a couple of tattoos. Ask your tattoo artist. The healing process ain't different. So, we've already talked a little bit about it, but I have to say, actually, I feel like they healed pretty quickly and without much hassle. The only thing that I really struggled with is the first few days of like, you know, putting the, I use cocoa butter on them to keep them moisturized. Putting that on, I hated purely just because like whenever it's like this kind of level of shave, I don't mind, like that feels fine. But whenever it's like bald, the feeling of like rubbing it just feels horrible in every way. It's just such a like unpleasant feeling. So like having to like rub the cocoa butter in, every time I had to do that I was like it just, I really hated the feeling. That was like the one struggle, was just me having a weird sensory issue with the freshly shaved head. Other than that, I feel like they healed up really easily. I didn't really need to do an awful lot to them. They were honestly pretty easy overall. You hear the vibrations in your head. Don't know how to explain. I know what you mean, and I don't think so. I could like, you know, hear the machine like buzzing outside, but I couldn't, it wasn't like, you know, like buzzing inside. I know what you mean. I also don't know how to explain it, but I get you, and no. Is it more likely to fade or come off because of where it is, sort of like palm tattoos? I don't know. That's not something I ever thought to ask. No one has told me that that will be an issue, so I'm assuming no, but I honestly have no idea. You'd have to ask a tattoo artist that. I feel like it probably wouldn't be nearly as much of an issue as like palms, because it's just like a very different thing altogether. But I hope not. I really love it. Is it symmetrical? It's not. So there were some points where I wanted it to be symmetrical. For instance, up here, that was like one bit that I really wanted to be even, and we spent like a good while making sure that that was. I actually have a clip where like the whole, like all the artists in the shop were all kind of like, I was down on the floor on my knees and they're all standing around like looking down like so yeah, I wanted like those bits symmetrical, and like it's similar sort of like in some places, but they're not entirely symmetrical. We went for just like, I guess, a more organic thing. You just wouldn't really be able to tell unless you see them side by side, which I'll do here, because you know, it's so twisty and it's similar enough that it would kind of be hard to like spot the exact differences. But if we put them side by side, you can see that they are different. Is the aftercare different to other parts of the body, e.g. how did you keep it wrapped? So we didn't. That was like one thing that I wondered going in. I was like, are we going to wrap it? Because that feels like, are we just going to like cling film around my entire head? Like, what's the plan? So no, it wasn't wrapped. We finished up the tattoo, you know, like whatever the stuff was put on after. But there was no like cling film, there was no wrapping, there was nothing covering it. Just because of where it is, it would sort of be too difficult. Like it's the same with like, I imagine like, you know, if you get like tattoos on your face, it would be very hard to like cover them realistically. So there are some that you just can't really cover. So it was just a case of trying to keep it clean. Which thankfully, you know, generally your head, unless you're going to sleep, your head isn't really touching a lot of stuff. Like, you know, it's not like your hands or something where like, or your arms where you might be like bumping them off stuff a lot. These areas generally shouldn't be touching a lot, so it wasn't too bad. How did you find sleeping? I'm a side sleeper, I just would not sleep. Well, I was very drunk, so nothing was going to stop me from sleeping. I don't remember having an issue particularly. Just want to clarify for anyone who's gotten confused off the course of the video, I was not drunk when I got the tattoos. I was drunk later that night. Was one side more painful / sensitive than the other? Not really, other than this side didn't make my eye water. Wait. No. What side did I get first? No, it was this side. I feel whatever side I got first, my eye watered, and I feel like it was maybe this one because I was facing Chloe for that one, so it must have been this side that didn't water. How did your mom not notice? So for anyone who missed it, so I didn't tell anyone I was getting this done. I didn't like inform any of my family that this was happening, or like most of my friends or anything. So my mom picked me up from the airport. And I still remember like she was like making space in the back of her car for me to put my suitcase in. She was like, you know, she'd see me and she was like talking away, and then a friend that I hadn't seen in like years came up, and I was like, oh my god, hi. So I like hugged him and I was standing talking away to him for a couple of minutes. And he was like, oh, I like your, you know, your head tattoos. I'm not, like, my mom didn't even hear that, and she was still just off in her own little world, and I was like, thanks, I don't think she's noticed yet. So I actually have a video, which I'll play, of me getting in the car and her still not noticing, and me having to like ask, like, hey, do you notice anything? Do you notice anything?
Well, your head? Oh, fuck, I didn't hear your noise.
I wondered if you would notice or not. Don't know how you didn't.
I don't know why you don't, because you're...
So yeah, I don't know how she didn't notice, but if you ever wondered why I'm so ditzy. Also, it's so funny, like I posted pictures of all the tattoos I got in London that weekend, like including these, and then like the ankle ones and the ant and my thumb and stuff. I posted like those on Facebook with the caption like, sorry dad, sorry nanny. And on that post, there was one single angry reaction. You know, where you can like, heart, care. There's one angry reaction, and it's my granny. She didn't even comment. She just left like a little fucking angry reaction. I thought that was so funny. I had a couple of questions, like both in this and then like just like on pictures and stuff, that were the same question but asked in different ways. Some people had genuine curiosity. A couple of people were downright fucking snarky about it. And it's like, what are you gonna do if, like, you know, YouTube fails and you need to get a job someday? Like, then what? I find it so odd because this is the only time that I've ever had that question. Even like when I've got my hands and stuff done, no one's asked me that, but I got it like a few times with my head tattoos, and I find it so strange because out of like all my tattoos, these are some of the easiest to hide. It's like, I mean, like, first of all, you know, worst comes to worst, YouTube blows up and I need to get like some normal job. I don't want a job where I can't be myself, you know, like, for one. Two, times have changed. Tattoos aren't really that big a deal anymore. At the fancy spa that I go to, their employees have like full sleeves and stuff. Like, tattoos aren't really a big deal anymore, so I can't really see it being a problem anyway. And three, I can just wear my hair down or like grow my hair out for like a month and then you can't see them anymore. Like, they're such an easy one to hide in comparison to so many others that I don't know why this triggered that question so much. It's not like it's like on my face. Yeah, it's like, oh, what are you gonna do if you need a good job? I'm like, wear my hair down. Sorry for the people who genuinely asked out of curiosity and weren't being snarky. My snarkiness was purely in response to the snarky people. I love how many people are saying that it like really suits me and it's just like a very me tattoo and I like look more myself with it, because I feel the same, and it's so cute that like so many of you know me well enough to like also think that. I don't know, it's just very like validating or something. I don't know, Is it supposed to represent a crown of thorns or is it just some thorny boys? It's just thorns. It's nothing religious, it's not a crown of thorns. Like, if I was gonna do that then it would have been like a cross here, but yeah, it's nothing like that. I like thorns. Nothing deeper to it than that. So I think that covers it. There were a lot of questions there that I'd kind of already like answered through just talking anyway. So yeah, that is my head tattoo experience. I hope this cleared up all the stuff that you guys were interested in. I hope I didn't leave anything out. Like I said, like I went through like so many questions and pretty much everything that I could think of was covered. So yeah, thank you for watching. So before you go, we have the usuals. For instance, if you give this little video a thumbs up, really appreciate that. Drop me a little comment down below, let me know what you thought of today's video. If you're new here and you enjoyed this, consider subscribing. We would love to have you as part of the family. And then the big important one, if you could check out my Patreon, that would be incredible. Patreon is a website that lets you tip your favorite creators just as an extra way to support them if you want to. It's completely customizable. You can tip any number from $1 to, I don't know what the upper limit is, but I don't think we need to worry about that. It's on a monthly system, so it's really, really easy to keep tabs of. And as I say, it's entirely optional, but it is such a great way to support me in this channel and keep these videos coming. YouTube is my only job. This is what I do full time. So I really, really appreciate the extra support. It's so, so nice. So yes, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I answered your questions, and I hope I'll see you in the next video. Bye, lovelies!